feel to be empowered? How would it feel to be empowered to go after anything and everything you want in your life with confidence? I'm here today to create an awareness of the power that you possess within to regain control of your thoughts, regain control of your actions, therefore regaining control of your life. I am here to introduce your mind to your soul. What happens when the mind and the soul have not met? And what happens when the mind and the soul are not speaking the same language? You ever heard of that book titled Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? Anyone ever read that book? Well, oftentimes in conversation between a man and a woman, neither has a clue what one is saying or even trying to say. They're not speaking the same language. This creates conflict in the relationship. Well, it's similar when the mind and the soul are not speaking the same language. It's like having the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and they're both giving you conflicting information. This creates conflict in the relationship. Internal conflict. So what happens when you have this internal conflict, and how do you overcome it? 7 years ago, I was a divorcee. I had 2 high school-aged children. I worked as a registered nurse in the emergency department. I was physically active. As a matter of fact, I had just recently, right before that, run my first half marathon. I participated regularly in sports, running, cycling, kickboxing, weightlifting. I was on what I consider the hamster wheel of life. You ever seen a hamster in a cage with that wheel? And they go around and around, hour after hour, day after day. That was me. That was my life. Same thing, day after day. Well, 4.5, actually almost 5 years ago now, I was about 8 hours into my night shift in the emergency department. Was sitting down at the computer. I was charting. I got up to go grab a medication so I could administer it to one of my patients, and that's when I knew something was wrong. I was struggling to walk. My right leg wasn't working, and it wasn't like it had fallen asleep. We've all had that feeling before. This was different. From that moment forward, my life would never be the same. You see, 5 days prior, I had stepped out on a financial limb, and I had purchased my very first home on my own. I had yet to unpack my boxes. Doctor visit after doctor visit, specialists, UCLA, USC, physical therapy, nerve conduction studies, 13 MRIs. 13 MRIs, and I'm claustrophobic. Congratulations, Kathlyn, they tell me. You are our mystery patient of the day, like I'm winning a freaking prize or something. Come collect your prize. You're a mystery patient. What now? I was no longer able to work out. That was my passion. I was no longer able to work. That was my financial security. I was unable to make my first mortgage payment. So after 10 months of not knowing, and after 10 months of no answers and 10 months of no improvement, it was decided that I would have surgery. So after 10 hours in the operating room, I woke up in my hospital bed. There were people in the room. I could hear them. I could hear my son. I could hear my daughter, my mom, my dad. Everyone's there. But I couldn't see them. I had asked, please take the tape off my eyes. I can't see anyone. And then I heard my son's voice. Mom, there is no tape on your eyes. I couldn't see. My eyes were swollen shut. They were swollen shut because of the position I was in for 10 hours, like head down, ass up for 10 hours. That was me. So I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. I couldn't move my legs. I could not move my body to an inch, even a fraction of an inch in any direction without assistance. I kept hitting myself, poking and praying, can I just feel something? And I started to panic. And then I thought, okay, Kathy, you're a nurse. You know better than this. It's going to be fine. That's what you always tell your patients. Give them the bright side of the story, right? So the bright side of the story, I told myself, was my nerves were in shock. They had undergone some trauma, and it would be okay. In a day or two, I would regain that sensation. But at that moment in time, my world was dark. I could not see, and I could not feel anything. Nothing from the waist down. Why, God? Why me, I asked. Oftentimes in life, we go through life not even really knowing who we are. We're basically told at birth, we're stamped on the head, your name, your race, your religion, your gender, stamped on your head. And from that moment forward, we're told who we should be, how we should act, what we should wear, what car we should drive. I too was a victim of those external societal influences. I call it brainwashing. Some people don't like that term, but I think it applies. I used to run myself ragged for everyone, doing everything for everyone. I was what they call a people pleaser. Any people pleasers in the house? Yeah, I was one of those. I was a chameleon. I could change, adapt, and change to any situation. And I was really, really proud of being a chameleon. Now, it's okay to adapt to a situation, but really think about this. How was I so easily able to change? Because I didn't know who I was. I was empty inside. Going back to my hospital room, laying in that bed, uncertain of what my future would hold. I've got 2 kids in high school, no significant other anymore. What am I going to do? So I checked out. I went into a state of meditation for 5 days in that hospital bed, and I'm telling you, I was not connected to my physical body. My soul, my mind was somewhere in some space, some realm, some other place. I was no longer able to feel pain. I was no longer nauseous, and I was no longer scared. It was in that other realm, and it was in that other space where I met my innermost self, and that is where I had connected my mind to my soul. And I'm telling you, once you get there, once you really get there. Now, I did meditations before, I read books, I did yoga, all that, but this was different. This was something I had never experienced. And once you have that mind-soul connection, once you develop that relationship, there will be a shift. There will be a shift in your way of thinking. There will be a shift in your way of acting. There will be a shift in your priorities, and there will be a shift in your self-confidence. You will know that anything you set out to achieve, as long as it belongs to you, you will be successful. When I say belongs to you, meaning it doesn't belong to those external societal influences. Once you develop that relationship between your mind and your soul, you will be able to determine what I call your what. What is a what? A what is a goal that you would like to achieve. A what may be, a change that you would like to make in your life. But it has to belong to you and only you. So maybe you want a promotion at work. Maybe you want to be part of the C-suite, the 7-figure club. Maybe your aspirations are higher. You want to be that next billionaire entrepreneur sending aid to the victims of the hurricanes in the Bahamas. Or maybe it's personal. Maybe your goal is weight loss. Maybe it's improved health, improved fitness, and improved relationship. Whatever it is, you have to make sure it's important to you and only you. When I was 5 years old, somebody told me I was fat. And I believed them, of course, because everyone tells us who we are, right? And we believe them, and we live our life like that. At 6 years old, I started dieting. At 8 years old, I was dropped off at my first Weight Watchers meeting. Doesn't that sound fun for an 8-year-old girl? I'll never forget sitting in those cold metal chairs listening to the old people tell fat jokes. For the next 40 years, every Monday, the first day of every month, the first day of every year, every time the wind blew, every time it didn't, I set out to achieve my goal of weight loss. And each and every time I set out to achieve this goal, I was unsuccessful. Why was I unsuccessful in achieving my goal of weight loss? Because weight loss was not my goal. Weight loss belonged to my mother, my pediatrician, society's influences of what size I needed to be. I was pursuing someone else's goal for me. So what happens when you pursue someone else's goal for you? Pursuing a goal that does not belong to you makes it difficult, if not impossible, to achieve. So what happens when we're unable to achieve our goals? Failure to achieve goals, failure to achieve success leads to feelings of worthlessness, self-loathing, depression, anxiety, and suicide. I too have visited some of those places. I was introduced. Yes, I'm a former police officer. And guess what? I used to carry a gun. And guess what happened when I went to my dark place? I took the barrel and went here, and it went here. And I was trying to decide which place would kill me the quickest so I don't feel anything, and so I'm not accidentally still alive, kept on life support. Then I remembered my kids. Determine your what. What is important to you? Not something that's important to you. Again, pursuing something that doesn't belong to you will make it very difficult for you to achieve. The next is your why. Why is this goal important to you? Why is this change important to you? And I guarantee you, if you can't come up with a reason or reasons why that goal or that change is important to you, it doesn't belong to you. Go back to square one, step one, determining your what. Stop. Get off that hamster wheel. Take a break from the fast food world, the world of instant gratification, the world of distractions. We live in an era of distractions. We have social media, we have cell phones, we have traffic, we have everything to distract us. Do you agree? I used to get up in the morning. I didn't even get up. So I would wake up, my eyes weren't even open. I would reach over to my nightstand and I'd grab my cell phone and I'd start scrolling. I'm scrolling through my emails. I'm scrolling through my Facebook, my Instagram. What's everybody doing? What'd they have for dinner last night? How's their workout today? Did they make it to the gym? How happy are they? How wonderful is their life? Well, I'm sitting, like many of you, in that same place, that darker place, feeling like everybody has it, but you don't. Distractions. Take a break from those distractions. Focus on what is your what and how it's your why. And now how are you going to get there? What steps are you going to take in that direction towards achievement of that goal or making that change in your life? You can achieve anything if you attach action. But without action, there is no forward movement. And without action, there is no success. Let's say you want to leave here. There's a door right there. I see the exit sign, right? You're tired of hearing me talk. You want to get up and walk out of the room. Well, you can think about it all day long. But if you don't take action, if you don't stand up and start walking towards the door, you're stuck in that chair indefinitely listening to me talk. Action. Have a plan of action and move forward. Now you've determined your what, your whys, and your hows. What is your payoff? What is the payoff? What's in it for you? What is the return on your investment? What is your intrinsic reward? So what is an intrinsic reward? So an intrinsic reward is something internal. It belongs to you and only you. It can't be taken away. For instance, you read a book. You get knowledge. No one can take your knowledge away. It belongs to you. Or maybe you go on a trip with your family. You have some amazing memories. Those memories are intrinsic rewards. They belong to you and they can't be taken from you. Extrinsic rewards, on the other hand, are external and they can be taken away from you. Things like status, looks, those things come from the outside. They don't belong to you. So when you're identifying your payoff, your return on your investment, make sure it includes an intrinsic reward. Once you visualize yourself, having already achieved that goal or made that change, your payoff, how has your life changed? How is your life different? And take a minute. How does that feel? How does that feel? Focus and commit. So how do we stay focused? How do we stay committed? Write it down. Write it down on a sticky note. Put it on your mirror. Put it on the dash of your car. Put it in your wallet. Write it in a journal. Whatever you do, write it and read it over and over and over. Writing things down, reading them over and over help us stay on our path, our forward movement. They help us stay committed to our goals. Now, keep in mind that sometimes things are going to get in the way. Life gets in the way, right? These are called barriers. So barriers are pretty much anything and everything that gets in the way of your successful goal achievement. So a barrier can be a thing or a place. Let's say your what is to have an improved relationship with your significant other. So you've decided, your house where you're going to spend time together in the evenings after you get home from work. Then there's that watering hole on the way home where you stop and have drinks with the fellas, and it's football season, so we got Mondays, Thursdays, Sundays. So that could be a barrier, a place, or a thing. Barriers can be habits. Could be drinking, shopping, gambling. Let's say your what is to go on a trip and you're trying to save money so you can have those intrinsic rewards, the memories with your family, or maybe it's to pay off some debt so you have financial freedom, the intrinsic reward, meaning that you have peace of mind and no anxiety. You can sleep at night. But you have a gambling habit or you have a shopping habit. People can be barriers. Do any of you have any of those people in your life who don't really want to see you succeed? So maybe they're pulling you in another direction? I know I told you I've been on a lot of diets. So when I would go on a diet and I would go out to dinner with a friend, I'd let them know, yeah, but I'll go. But like I'm on a diet, they were used to that. I'll take one bite of your food and the rest will be mine. So anyway, I'd be on a diet and then I'd have those friends. So I knew what I was eating. I had a plan. I was committed. I was moving forward with my what, right? And then they try to talk me into nachos, which I love. They order the nachos, right? Oh, you can have one. You can have two. You know what? That's not okay. That is not okay. Why do you want people like that in your life? And you know what? I've been that person. I've done that to people because I was jealous, because I wasn't happy. So I was trying to sabotage their efforts too. So keep in mind, if someone is not your teammate, they may be your opponent. Identify your opponent and kick them off the team because they're not on your team. They don't belong. Maybe the barrier is you. Do you have self-sabotaging thoughts that are interfering with your success? I can't. Tomorrow. The fear of failure. Well, I can guarantee if you don't try, you're going to fail, so you might as well give it a shot, right? Or maybe it's the urge to stick with something familiar or comfortable. We all like to stay in our comfort zones, right? So any of you have those old shoes, the really comfortable shoes that are kind of ratty with holes and dirty and the sides are down, or maybe you have those old jeans that are really super comfortable and you just don't want to get rid of them because they're so comfortable. You've already bought the new jeans, you've already bought the new shoes, but you keep finding yourself wearing them. When I was married, my ex-husband had this shirt. It was so worn out, like it was, stretched out, like it was a button up, but it was short and he was tall and the collar was crooked and it had stains. And I used to throw it away. Like literally, then we'd go somewhere like to a barbecue where we're seen and there's that shirt. Like it reincarnated so many times. Why? Because it was comfortable. Create new comfort zones. We all have something called neural pathways in our brain. Anyone ever hear of neural pathways? I like to think of as deep, fast-flowing rivers of nerve cells that transmit messages to our brain. The longer and faster that river flows, the deeper the rivers become, or those neural pathways become. So as it relates to the brain, the longer and more frequently you perform a behavior, the deeper those neural or brain pathways come, creating a habit. That's a habit. Let me ask you a question. How many of you here know how you put on your shoes? Do you do left shoe, right shoe, or right shoe, left shoe? Raise your hand. Or are you one of those freaks that do shoe, sock, shoe, sock? So most of the people in the room aren't raising their hands. And the reason they're not raising their hand is because they don't know, because they have deep, fast-flowing rivers of neural pathways in their brains telling them how to put their shoes on. This is a habit. And habits can be good, but habits can be bad. Just make sure whatever habits you decide to or choose to have are habits that you choose to have. So, habits. I have a funny story to tell you about habits, but I think I'm going to save it towards the end. So with these neural pathways, can we create new neural pathways? I said we can create new habits and we can create neural pathways. And how do we do it? So after my surgery, my what was to regain physical strength. But more specifically, just end of my story, my nerve damage is permanent. I have 3 muscles in my right calf that no longer function. So I was trying to build muscles around. My why is so I could walk without an assistive device. So what my plan was, my how is I was going to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning before work, right? So I set my alarm for 4 o'clock in the morning. Alarm goes off. I hit snooze again, and again. No worries, because I know I can hit the gym after work, right? On my way home, so that's fine. I'll make sure I do that. And on my way home, I start thinking of all the why nots. Not the why I want to go work out, not to think that I want to be able to walk without a walker or a cane, right? The why nots. Why not? Because I'm tired, because I have to go home and make dinner, because there's traffic, because it's probably so crowded I can't even get on my equipment, or maybe I can't even get a parking spot. It's okay, I'll go tomorrow. No worries. So I'll set my alarm for 4 in the morning. 4 o'clock in the morning, my alarm goes off. And guess what happened? Nothing. I hit snooze again, and again. And then I remembered learning about these neural pathways. It takes 28 consecutive days of performing the same behavior to create a new habit. So that's it. I'm going to make sure that I reform my new rivers, my new neural pathways, and allow the old ones of laying in bed and hitting snooze to dry out, right? So next morning, 4 o'clock, alarm goes off. And what do you think happened? Nothing. And I was getting so frustrated with myself. Like, I want this. I don't understand. I'm talking myself out of it. And I don't know why, but I am. And then I remembered it takes 5 seconds or less to talk yourself out of something. 5 seconds or less. Act within 5 seconds. I remember hearing that. So the next day, okay, I'm focused. I'm committed. I got a plan. I got my clothes out. I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to do it because I'm feeling bad. So 4 o'clock the next morning, alarm goes off. I literally count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I pictured myself like a rocket propelling out of my bed. And I ran and I put my clothes on. They were right on the dresser. I got dressed. I didn't even brush my teeth. I was out the door at the gym for 28 consecutive days. And guess what happened? And don't say nothing. I had created new neural pathways in my brain. And I had developed a new habit, a healthy habit, a habit that I chose. So now that I told you about acting within 5 seconds, I'm going to confuse you with waiting 5 seconds to act. So acting within 5 seconds applies to those planned activities. Like, I planned to go to the gym. I planned to bring my food to work, whatever it was. That's acting within 5 seconds or acting within 5 seconds. So waiting 5 seconds to act. That applies to those unplanned events. For example, let's say your goal is to achieve a healthier body weight for whatever reason. So you may have a plan. You know how you're going to do it. You have a plan. You've taken action. You prepared your food, on Sundays. You bring it to work. You've got your food at work, right? You're going to stick to it. You're committed. And you're sitting at your desk. And in walks your coworker, Miss Betty Crocker herself, with a cheesecake. Your personal favorite, almost like your better than sex favorite in the whole world. And I'm not talking that Sara Lee frozen 1-inch frozen cheesecake with the graham cracker crust. I'm talking a homemade, at least 3-inch thick cheesecake with the crust all baked in, in that homemade blueberry sauce on top, whipped cream, dollops of whipped cream, like it belonged in a magazine. What you gonna do? Before you dive into that sea of indulgence, wait 5 minutes to act. Wait 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, think about your whats. What are you trying to achieve? What goal? What change are you trying to make? For 5 seconds, think about your whys. Why is this important to you? For 5 seconds, think about the plan, the commitment that you've made to yourself. And for 5 seconds, think about your payoff, the return on your investment, your intrinsic reward. How does that feel? And for 5 seconds, think about how you would feel if you gave in to temptation. In order to move forward in life, we have to declutter. We have to declutter our physical space and we have to declutter our mental space. So decluttering our physical space. That involves getting rid of that physical clutter that may be distracting us, sucking up our time, sucking up our energy, causing frustration. Say tonight you decide you want to make dinner. So you go to the store, you got your bag with all your groceries, you walk in your kitchen, and every utensil, every dish, every pot, every pan is dirty, stacked up in both sides of the sink and all over the counters and all over the stove. You need to remove that clutter. You got to clean your space in order to move forward and make your dinner. Mind space. What might be occupying space in your mind? Past relationships, past hurts, failures, disappointments. Think of your mind as a glass. If your glass is always full with something that you don't want to drink, how are you going to fill it with something that you do want to drink? Ask yourself this question. How full is my glass? Now determine what needs to be empty from your glass in order to make room for something more desirable. When it comes to mind space, rent is not cheap. There is a very high price you are paying. Identify those unwanted occupants, acknowledge them, and kick them out. Make room for change. It is my personal struggles in life that forced me to get off that hamster wheel, to take a break from the distractions, to go to that other space, that other realm where I was able to connect to my inner self, where I was able to meet my soul, and where I was able to create a relationship between my mind and my soul. And as hard as it was, lying in that hospital bed, not being able to see, being in pain, being nauseous, and not being able to feel, I am thankful for my opportunity. This opportunity gave me the chance to see clearly, to regain control of my thoughts, my actions, my life, to share my message with others. And I say struggles, and I even hate to use that word in a way. To me, struggle, strength, they're synonymous. Without struggles, you don't have strength. So I think about myself again, lying in that hospital bed. You know, when we come face to face with death, or the death of our physical capabilities, there is no turning back. There are no second chances. I encourage you to fast forward your life to that inevitable moment in time, that moment in time when there is no turning back. Would you have regrets? Would you do anything differently? If the answer is yes, I encourage you, take the time, stop, self-reflect. Take the time, stop, meet your soul. Identify your what's important to you. Identify your hows, your whys, why it's important to you, your hows, how you're going to do it. What is your plan? What is your payoff? Take action and commit. Earlier, I had asked a question. I had asked myself the question, why God? Why me? The answer, why not me?